Chapter 1786. After Tangwa became an intern at Tang Enterprise, she spent less time at the snack bar. As long as she had time, she would go to the company. Tang Kuei tried his best to take Tangwa to the company, but Tao Yu was like a fly. He was everywhere. As long as he didn't have time, Tao Yu would take his sister away. Thinking about it made him angry. Guogua, why don't I arrange a driver for you? On the weekend, when the family was eating, Tang Kuei suggested, when you're busy, let the driver take you to the company. Lin Yinghui and Tang Yonghua nodded in agreement. Even if their baby girl was an intern, it was nothing to have a driver. Actually, it's not that troublesome. No need. Tangwa refused clearly. Tang Kuei looked at her deeply. You really don't need it? No need. I'm fine as I am now. Tangwa expressed again. Tang Kuei was very conflicted. If this sister was really the original sister, he had prevented the other party from getting close to Tao Yu, so there was nothing to say. But this sister was not the original sister. Just like him, she was a wily old fox who had traveled through many worlds. If she didn't want to, he couldn't interfere. Although, he was a little uncomfortable. In fact, he was very happy to have such a sister who had the same interests and ability. That Tao Yu was able to steal her attention every single time. As an older brother, he didn't feel good at all. What happened to the mission that he said was to spoil his sister? Okay. Tang Kuei compromised and didn't force anything. Instead, he said, Guogua, I think you should take advantage of the time to get your driver's license. After you get your driver's license, brother will buy you a car. It will be much easier to go anywhere, and you won't have to arrange a driver. Okay, brother's suggestion is good. Tangwa smiled and agreed with the suggestion. Tang Kuei was happy. When Guogua got her driver's license, he would buy her a few more cars. When Guogua drove to the company every day, that guy called Tao Yu wouldn't have an excuse to see Guogua. Tang Yi looked at the two siblings, happy and harmonious, and her heart was filled with jealousy. She used to look forward to seeing Tang Kuei when she was in school. When she was in high school, she went to the best school in the city. It was a closed school, and she could only go home on weekends. She was looking forward to it because she would be able to see Tang Kuei when she got home. Nowadays, what she was most afraid of was the weekends, because Tang Kuei and Tangwa, whether they were sitting at the dinner table, walking in the garden downstairs, doing morning exercises together, or discussing something in the study room, they were all so harmonious and harmonious. These two were the real siblings, and she couldn't get a word in edgewise. In particular, Tang Kuei's unabashed love for Tangwa made her feel even worse. Xiaoyi, you're an adult now. If you have time, you should get your driver's license first. Lin Yinghui smiled and said, when the time comes, what kind of car do you and Guogua want? We'll go and see together. It had to be said that the family Tang couple was really nice. When the whole family was there, they all paid attention to Tang Yi. However, Tang Yi could only see that Tang Kuei was cold to her and intimate to Tangwa. Tang Yi came back to her senses and said, I will, Mom. After that, she looked at Tang Kuei's position. Tang Kuei didn't seem to notice her, nor did he say that he would buy her a car. She felt even worse. If you want to talk with more like-minded people, you have to be calm. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1787. Tang Kuei said, what is that woman thinking? Is she wondering why I'm not happy to give her a car? Why should I give it to her? Why should I give it to Guogua? Why is she so beautiful? 111 echoed. Host, just pretend you didn't see it. I'm full. Tang Yi really couldn't stay at the dinner table. She put down the bowl and chopsticks, politely said goodbye to them, and turned to go back to her room. Lin Yinghui and Tang Yonghua asked her a few questions. Tang Yi said that she didn't feel uncomfortable, but she didn't have an appetite recently. After she went upstairs, Lin Yinghui looked at Tang Kuei helplessly and whispered, Kuei, I know you're close to Guogua, but you've always been distant with Xiaoyi. I won't force you to be close to Xiaoyi. We don't object to you doting on Guogua. In fact, we're very happy. But you can discuss this kind of thing in private. There's no need to talk about it. She could see that Tang Yi seemed a little unhappy. Thinking about it, it should be what Tang Kuei said just now that made Tang Yi sad. But Kuei was like this. There was really no need for him to be fair. Everyone was biased, even themselves. Many times, they also wanted to be nicer to Tangwa, but they were afraid that Tang Yi would think too much. After all, she was the daughter they had raised for more than 10 years. She was like their biological daughter. It was not easy to be a parent. They could only consider Tang Yi's face as much as possible. Tang Kuei only doted on Tang Gua, and they were happy. After all, as parents, with Tang Yi's involvement, they really couldn't treat Tang Gua better than Tang Yi in public. Mom, in fact, it's the same. Whether it's in the open or in the dark, she will always know. There was always a difference between people. Gua is my biological sister, and we have been separated for more than 10 years. Shouldn't I treat her better? What's wrong with buying a car? Even if I sell one a day, I'm willing to. I like it, and I dote on it. If I can't drive it, the house and warehouse will be scrapped. It's also my goodwill. Family Tang couple, hearing this, was funny and speechless. The reason why they didn't care about Tang were on the surface. It was also through Tang was returned for more than a year that they realized how outstanding their daughter was. Originally, they had planned to leave Tang Kor in Tang Kuei's hands. They had once considered training Tang Yi. In the end, he found out that Tang Yi's grades were not bad, but she was not good at some aspects. She had no talent, so she could not manage Tang Group. Tang Yi was the same as those little girls from ordinary families. She didn't have a keen business sense. She didn't pay attention to the things they inadvertently put in the house. He had been with the family Tang for more than a decade, but he had no idea what the company was involved in. When Tang Yi chose to study liberal arts without hesitation, they basically determined her future path. So when Tang Yi said that she wanted to learn all kinds of talents, they readily agreed. She was enrolled in the 4 arts classes. Many of the girls in this class were already learning about the family business at this age, and were focusing on nurturing them in this aspect. Their Gua was different. She had relied on her own abilities to become an intern in the company. In a short period of time, she had adapted to the environment and even made some achievements. At that time, the couple had already made up their minds. In the future, the Tang Group would be jointly managed by their 2 daughters. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, you should be calm. Look, talk about life, find a confidant. Chapter 1788. As for Tang Yi, as long as she was the daughter of the family Tang family, she wouldn't have to worry about food and drink for the rest of her life. She could be assigned to an idle position in another department. If she didn't want to work, she could open a shop. Dad, Mom, you have too many scruples. Tang Kuei thought that he should teach this pair of 2 kind parents a lesson. They probably didn't know that Tang Yi might have already decided to exchange their lives for her love. Gua was lost when she was a child, and you brought her back by accident. The love of her parents and the superior little princess life helped her get rid of the fate of being an orphan. Tang Kuei paused for a while and then continued, "What about Gua? If she hadn't met Uncle Chen and Aunt Zhao, who were such kind people, I don't know what would have happened to her. Even so, Gua has lost a lot. At a young age, the fear of being lost and the pain of growing up without her biological parents. When she came back, her biological parents had to be fair to her for the sake of their adopted daughter's feelings. Dad, Mom, I think it's unfair to Gua." Tang Gua didn't expect that Tang Kuei would say this so straightforwardly. There was nothing wrong with the family Tang couple. They really loved the original owner of the body. It was just that they were a little soft-hearted to their relatives. Therefore, standing in her position, it was really inappropriate for her to say these words. In her opinion, the better they treated Tang Yi today, the more disappointed they would be in Tang Yi in the future. It could be regarded as a kind punishment, so she didn't ask about it. Anyway, she didn't care. She remembered those who treated her well. She also remembered those who didn't treat her well. It was not a problem whether it was more or less. Dad, Mom, think about it. If you do this, where will Gua be? Gua doesn't care, but I care. I don't care how you treat Xiaoyi. That's your wish. As for how I treat Gua, it's none of your business. Gua is my little sister. If I want to pamper her, I'll pamper her. How I pamper her, where and when I pamper her is my business. When Tang Kuei said this, he glanced at Tang Gua. It was as if he was telling her, "Look, in this world, only your brother will spoil you. As for Tao Yu, can he compare with your brother?" Lin Yinghui and Tang Yonghua fell silent after hearing this. For about 5 minutes, they looked at Tang Gua guiltily. They had thought wrongly. The one they should compensate the most was Guagua. Dad, Mom, you should understand now, right? You don't owe Xiaoyi anything. If you really want to talk about it, shouldn't she be the one who should be grateful? If they were sensible, they would understand how you dote on Guagua. I don't want all of you to carefully maintain the harmony on the surface to level that bowl of water. If she really feels uncomfortable and throws a tantrum because you dote on Guagua, then you've most likely raised an ingrate. At this time, the couple had already thought it through and apologized to Tangua. Tangua naturally didn't care too much about these things. Seeing the clear look on their faces, it seemed that they had decided on something. She gently raised her eyebrows. Could Tangy bear it? Tang Kue was right. There was nothing wrong with the couple being partial to their lost daughter. As long as they didn't mistreat Tangy, she had no right to question it. The couple served Tangua and Tang Kue with food. They also said that they would also send Tangua a car. Tangua and Tang Kue looked at each other and finally glanced at the stairs from the corner of their eyes. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, quickly change into a female supporting role. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1789. Brother, what were you looking at just now? After dinner, the two siblings took a walk in the garden to digest their food. Tang Kue smiled. Guagua, what were you looking at just now? I suddenly found that the style of our house's staircase is good, very beautiful. Is that the style of ancient Western Europe? The system is amazing. My host can actually talk about the stairs of ancient Western Europe. 111 is amazing. The host's fake sister, with her acting skills, she probably really graduated from the same school as the host. It turns out that Guagua also found it. I was also thinking about the style of the stairs. Tang Kue smiled. It seems that Guagua's knowledge is very broad. So, how many times has this fake sister of his crossed over? The other party's understanding of the chip and some high-tech technology is definitely not below him. His fake sister is probably an old fox who crossed over. However, it really suits his taste. It has been a long time since he met such a person who can talk with him. In the mission, he has met all kinds of people with miracles, crossing over, rebirth, and soul fragments. None of them can make him feel so close. When he first came in contact with her, he recognized this sister. He really can't find a person who, when doing bad things, is 70% similar to him. The way she lies is also very similar to him. Because of the stairs of ancient Western Europe, the two siblings began to talk about it. Walking side by side in the garden, they talked and laughed, very harmonious. In a room upstairs, Tangy was secretly watching the two siblings, clenching her fists tightly. I don't want much. I don't care about the family things, and I don't care about the position of Tang Kue's sister. I just want to get his sincerity. As long as I get his sincerity, I can give up everything. Tangy put down the bed curtain, gently bit her lips and whispered, Can I? Guagua, you must not be deceived by the flowery words of some good-looking and rich men. While talking, Tang Kue changed the topic. It's rare to have a sister who can be spoiled. Although she is an old fox in her heart, he just wants to spoil her. That Tao Yu, get out of my way. If you want to marry my sister, wait until the end of time. Tangua looked up, brother. Who are you referring to? Tao Yu? Tang Kue, don't be so straightforward. How are we going to continue the topic? Don't I want my face? Don't worry, big brother. Although Tao Yu is good-looking and rich, he has never used flowery words on me. Whatever he said, he did it. There aren't many boys as honest as him nowadays. Boys? That guy was probably in his 20s. What kind of boy was he? What the hell? He actually saw a doting look in his fake sister's eyes. Brother, are you worried about me? Don't worry, he's very obedient. Besides, he only listens to me. Hearing Tangua emphasize it again, Tang Kue understood something. Tangua, a time traveler, was different from the others he had met before. How was it different? For example, mission enforcers like them would become numb once they did too many missions. Perhaps it was because he had seen a lot, experienced a lot, lived a long life, and was used to life and death, ups and downs, and betrayal. Living was like a machine. A blazing heart would gradually cool down and become cold and ruthless. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, quickly go to a female supporting role. calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1790. Even though they would try their best to get into character emotions, in reality, a veteran of missions would always have a clear mind. For example, many years ago, when he first started doing missions, every time he got into character emotions, he had a beating heart, just like all newbies. Emotions were also true emotions. Even if it was a character in a mission, he would still have all kinds of emotions. Longing, hatred, love, hatred. Many years had passed, and now he could be described with one word: indifferent. He seemed to be sentimental, but in reality, he was emotionless. He seemed to be serious, but in reality, everything was just floating dust in his heart. Give him a quiet place, and he could be like an old monk in meditation. He could sit there for millions of years without feeling bored, as if he were dead. But Tangwa was different, very different, even though he saw many of the same things in her eyes. But when he looked carefully, there were also some things that were different. The remaining things seemed to be her vivid obsession. For example, when she mentioned Taoyu just now, she inadvertently revealed a doting look, and the smile on her lips and eyes were very real. It really made him recall that he once had such a moment. Even when facing the family Tang couple, Tangwa's smile had never been so real. Xiaogua. Tang Kuei was still in a daze when he suddenly heard Xiaogua, waking him up. When he came back to his senses and saw who it was, his face darkened. This giant fly was really everywhere. Just as he was about to ridicule him, he saw Tangwa smiling as she looked at Taoyu walking over. Compared to the previous smile, it was more real. Taoyu was holding a few books in his hands. Tang Kuei followed and heard Taoyu say, "Xiaogua, the original foreign sci-fi novel you mentioned last time. This is the first edition. I found it for you." Then, Tang Kuei saw Taoyu pass 2 books to Tangwa. He even said, "It's a little broken, so I wrapped it in a book cover. I wanted to fix it and bring it to you. But thinking that you should be very busy during the week, I thought it would be better to bring it over today. Who knows, I might be able to finish all of them in 2 weekends. Then I really have to thank Big Brother Tao. I merely mentioned it, and you were able to find it. It must be troublesome to find this. After all, the first version has existed for nearly 60 to 70 years. I'm afraid there aren't many left in the world." Taoyu smiled. "No, I'm just lucky, so it's no trouble. Besides, I'm also interested in this. When I heard you mention it, I couldn't wait to look for it." Tang Kuei didn't say anything. He knew about this sci-fi novel. According to records, 60 to 70 years ago, printing technology was not as developed, and the publishing industry was not as prosperous as it was today. Only 2,000 copies of the first edition of this sci-fi novel were printed. It had already been 60 to 70 years, so it was really not easy to find a copy that was once out of print. It could also be said that Taoyu's luck was good, but it couldn't be denied that Taoyu had put in a lot of effort to find it. "I think it's best to repair this thing first. It's been preserved quite well. It would be a pity if it's damaged." Tang Kuei interrupted, "Guagua, you can put it upstairs first. Keep it well. I'll find someone to fix it for you later." Tangwa readily agreed and turned to go upstairs. Tang Kuei and Taoyu were left in the garden, looking at each other. "Want to chat with more like-minded people? Quickly change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant." Chapter 1791. Tang Kuei, that's out of print. If you want it, I can't help you. Taoyu spread out his hands. "If there's only one copy of good stuff, I'll only consider Xiaogua first." "Taoyu, we're good brothers and friends, right?" Tang Kuei asked with a smile. Taoyu said seriously, "Good brothers, even good friends can't do it." He patted Tang Kuei's shoulder and whispered, "I really can't. I can't refuse her. If she wants the stars one day, I might even start researching how to go to space." Tang Kuei could tell that Taoyu was serious and didn't seem to be lying at all. Tang Kuei said, "Taoyu, you weren't like this before. You didn't get close to women. Even if a girl fell in front of you, you wouldn't touch them. They were all pretending. I could see through them." Taoyu said proudly, "You're different too? I would at least call the ambulance for them. You, on the other hand, would turn a blind eye and walk past them indifferently." Why do you treat my sister differently? Tang Kui asked curiously. Someone who could be chosen by a time traveler must have something special about him. Speaking of Tanghua, Tao Yu's eyes were full of smiles. That gentle and loving look set off waves in Tang Kui's heart. Perhaps he understood that such a sincere gaze and affection, if it never changed, could warm the weary heart of the time traveler. I don't know. When I saw her, I just felt that my life was complete. There was a 5-second silence between the two. Tang Kui suddenly laughed. Gua Gua said that you're very obedient and obedient. Tao Yu, if you want to pursue my sister, sure. But I really want to see how obedient you are and how obedient you are. Show your future brother-in-law. If your performance is good, maybe I won't object. Host, you will be beaten by your fake sister. Tao Yu put away his gentle appearance and sneered at Tang Kui. I only listened to Xiao Gua. His voice was so loud that even the family Tang couple who came for a walk could hear it. The two looked at each other and finally hid behind the flowers, preparing to eavesdrop. Tang Kui noticed the two of them and said deliberately, Tao Yu, what did you listen to Gua Gua? Of course I will only listen to Xiao Gua. Tang Kui, even if you were Xiao Gua's brother, don't even think about taking advantage of me. Ever since we were young, we've been evenly matched. Neither of us can do anything to the other, so let's not waste time. In this world, only Xiao Gua can openly take advantage of me. Tang Kui smiled. Got it. He looked over at the family Tang couple. At the same time, Tang Gua also came downstairs and walked over to the couple. After a moment of confusion, the couple came to a realization. This time, the way they looked at Tao Yu was a little strange. Naturally, Tao Yu noticed it. He narrowed his eyes slightly under Tang Kui's gloating gaze. He walked up to the family Tang couple and Tang Gua and greeted them with a smile. As the saying goes, one does not hit a smiling person. Although this guy wanted their daughter. Uncle Tang, when I was looking for books for Xiao Gua, I happened to find a set of purple clay teapots. I'll bring them over for you to taste some other day. Okay? Purple clay teapots? Tang Yonghua's eyes lit up. When he encountered something good, he forgot everything and couldn't wait to see it. Where is it? Why don't you bring it over today? Tao Yu smiled. I wanted to bring it over today, but I was afraid that Uncle Tang would take Annie out to play and wouldn't have time. Who doesn't know that Uncle Tang and Auntie are very loving? Every weekend, they might go out to play. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, quickly change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1792. Tao Yu, you are very good. Tang Kui held onto his phone with a slight smile on his lips. However, the words that came out of his mouth sounded like he was gritting his teeth. Tao Yu said, we grew up together, and we're closer than real brothers. Tang Kui, in my heart, other than Gua Gua, you're nothing. If I'm not good to you, who should I be good to? Tang Kui, not only is it good, it's also very shameless. He's a man, so what if he's thick-skinned? Tang Kui said, I'm a lowly person. Everyone has their own opinions. If you have a different opinion about this, you can keep it to yourself. Tao Yu replied happily, Tang Kui, you have to admit that every time you're negotiating a contract with someone, you're also a villain. Enough. Enough with the nonsense. Isn't it just my parents who approve of you as Guagua's suitor? We haven't even been together yet. So what are you so proud of? The main thing is still Guagua. If one day Guagua doesn't like you anymore, then we'll see. When Tao Yu heard this, he was not worried at all. He had a feeling that as long as he was obedient and always treated Xiao Gua well and listened to her, Xiao Gua would never abandon him. I won't give Xiao Gua the chance to abandon me. Tang Kui, I'm willing to lower my head to you. For example, I'll call you my brother-in-law. Finally, Tang Kui couldn't stand it anymore. He cursed, get lost. Then, he hung up the phone and slammed it on the table. His face looked terrible. Mobile terminal PS brother-in-law? Did he care? He didn't care if Tao Yu called him brother-in-law or not. Why were his parents so unprincipled? With that mouth of his, he was only good at talking. After listening to a few words, he had been duped. If Tao Yu was his biological brother, with his ability to coax people and attract people's attention, he believed that he would have fallen out of favor and lack love from a young age. Tangwa studied while going to the company for an internship. During the weekends, she still had to learn how to drive, so she was very busy. Of course, every time she learned how to drive, Tao Yu would be by her side. Needless to say, Tang Kuei was busy. As a result, Tang Yi might not be able to see Tang Kuei when she went home on weekends. Tang Yi found that when Tangwa was at home, Tang Kuei was there most of the time. If Tangwa was not here, Tang Kuei must not be here. This discovery caused her to feel extremely uncomfortable. She could not hold it in any longer. Tangwa was only Tang Kuei's younger sister. Why did she attract all his attention? Why couldn't he see her? Late at night, Tang Yi took out the lucky charm again. Looking at the smooth surface of the stone, she gritted her teeth and wrote her wish on it with a gel pen. She wanted to get Tang Kuei's heart and live a happy life with him. After she finished writing, she did not put the good luck charm aside. Instead, she held it in her hand and lay down. She closed her eyes and fell asleep. As long as Tang Kuei was given to her, she didn't want anything else. In this world, the one she wanted the most was Tang Kuei. As long as she could be with him, she was willing to pay any price. When she fell asleep, she didn't know that the lucky charm was emitting a faint light. If she woke up now, she would find that the words she had written down had disappeared. In the dream, Tang Yi repeated a certain dream. This dream was very different from the last one. In the last dream, most of it was about her and Tang Kuei's happy life. She wanted to talk with more like-minded people. She wanted to be a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1794. At noon, Tangwa and Tang Kuei finally came back. Tang Yi had been sitting in front of her window, watching a very strange luxury car drive into the garage outside the villa. Later, only Tangwa and Tang Kuei came out of the garage. Tang Yi bit her lips hard. So, Tang Kuei took Tangwa to buy a car early in the morning? The new car just now was bought by Tang Kuei for Tangwa. Tang Yi's brain was about to explode. Why didn't he take her to see the car? She didn't say that she wanted to see it. Couldn't she accompany them to go shopping? Brother, are you going to buy a car with Guagua? Tang Kuei glanced at Tang Yi's expression and saw that she was trying hard to maintain a curious look. In fact, the various expressions on her face were very disharmonious. And RBN and RBN. Update fastest mobile terminal PS. He didn't mean to expose her, just nodded. Yes, I have to fly to a meeting in the afternoon. There will be an exchange meeting abroad next week, which will take about 4 or 5 days. I have no time for the whole week. Guagua has already got her driver's license. I have to fulfill my promise. Brother, why don't you call me? Let me have a feast for my eyes. Tang Yi said this sentence naturally. I will start learning to drive next semester. I can watch it in advance. It's still early when you go out. Don't you like to sleep late on weekends? Tang Kuei didn't want to say anything more to Tang Yi. 111 had already told him last night. Tang Yi made a wish in the middle of the night. Her wish was the same as before. She wanted to get his heart and live a happy life with him. This ignorant woman was very annoying. Her selfishness had caused a business genius to lose his soul. That genius was still able to use the power of a normal human soul to alarm the space administration with his obsession before his soul was destroyed. If his soul hadn't been destroyed, this person's soul wouldn't have had a bad life in all his lifetimes. That evil thing destroyed his soul and sucked away all his luck. It was really a pity. Go and play with Guagua. I will go to the airport soon. In this way, they ended the conversation. Tang Yi's eyes followed Tang Kuei as he left. She clenched her fists and didn't go to Tangwa. The school was on holiday. From the next day onwards, Tangwa went to work on time every day. There was one thing that made Tang Kuei collapse. Even if he bought a car for his sister, after Tangwa got off work, she would always pick up a guy named Tao Yu and put him in the car. One day, he ran into him and couldn't help but ask, Tao Yu, why are you in Guagua's car again? He had bought this for Guagua. Did this fellow know what it meant to be thick-skinned? A man sitting in a girl's car every day, doesn't he know shame? Looking at Tao Yu's shameless appearance, he understood that this guy really didn't know what shame was. I ran into her by accident, Tao Yu replied calmly. I saw her, so I could not say hello. Besides, Guagua and I have a lot to talk about. She's been working all day. Isn't it good to find a place to relax after work? Find a place to relax? Tang Kuei's eyebrows were burning. Where did you take Guagua to relax? Tao Yu, if you dare to mess around, I'll kill you with a punch. Tangwa couldn't help but persuade him, brother. It's not that serious. Brother Tao is a decent person. Brother, as a time travel veteran, can you calm down? Tang Kuei couldn't help it. He wanted to talk with more like-minded people. Hurry up, time travel heroine, calm down. Look, talk about life, find confidence. Chapter 1795. That's right. How could I possibly bring Guagua to a place like that? Under Tang Kuei's angry gaze, Tao Yu calmly took out a few movie tickets and handed one to Tang Kuei. Do you want to go and relax with us? Tang Kuei looked at the movie ticket and was a little surprised. So, when these two were talking about relaxing, they were going to watch a sci-fi movie? There had been a lot of movies released recently, and a few of them were sci-fi movies. Apart from sci-fi, there were also movies with other themes. Tang Kuei suppressed his anger. I'm very busy. You guys go and watch it. I still have to go to the airport tonight. Just thinking about this gave him a headache. Did his parents treat him like a son or a cow? Newcomer, did they forget that this body of his was only 26 or 27 years old? Why did they let him manage Tangkor? He suspected that he wasn't their biological son. Big brother, take good care of yourself. Tangwa comforted. Remember to eat when you get off the plane. Tang Kuei, who was originally exhausted, was comforted when he heard Tang with sincere concern. I know. What could happen to him? He just felt that this was different from what he had imagined. Translator, Transin editor, Transin before he came, he wanted to pamper his sister whenever he was free and manage the company when he was in a good mood. He wanted to be the kind of CEO that appeared in movies and dramas that wasn't busy at all. If he wanted to manage the company, he could manage it. If he didn't want to, he could just wander around. Reality was cruel. As the manager of Tangkor, he didn't have time to rest. He had to squeeze out all the time he could to take care of his sister. Tang Kuei replied, You three, don't give me too many roles in the future. I'm too busy managing a company. I can take on the role of a hedonistic young master or an ignorant rich second generation. Leave those carefully groomed heirs for others to experience. But you're doing very well, host. Every time you complete this kind of mission, it's very easy for you. He felt that hedonistic young masters and ignorant rich second generations weren't suitable for the host. Besides, if the host went, hedonistic young masters wouldn't be hedonistic young masters, and ignorant and incompetent people wouldn't be ignorant and incompetent. Gold would always shine wherever it was. Host, do you really not know about your own ability? It can make you shine, and it can't be concealed? This was not a matter of identity. 111 was a lackey system that obeyed the host. It said, I will help the host choose a more leisurely identity. In any case, with their level, the missions assigned to them wouldn't be too low level. Tang Kuei gritted his teeth and got into the car. He almost cried as he watched Tangwa drive Tao Yu to the cinema. So, he bought a car for his sister, and she drove it to flirt with other men? No, it should be that there was a shameless man pestering his sister. Before the holiday, Tang Yi had added the contact information of the senior who had participated in the internship exam of Tang's technology company. Recently, he had been staying in the house and chatting with the other party about the exam. She added a total of 3 people and found that the contents of the exam were all different. In the end, he came to the conclusion that every exam might be different. In the end, he ended the topic in frustration. She held the good luck charm and looked at its smooth surface. The words on it had disappeared on their own. So when would her wish come true? The last time she had made a wish to become the top scholar in the liberal arts, it had come true. What about this time? Would it come true? If she wanted to chat with more like-minded people, she'd have to be a female supporting character and calm down. Look, talk about life and find a confidant. Chapter 1796. It was the weekend, but Tangwa and Tang Kuei didn't seem to be busy. They chose to stay at home. Even when Tao Yu asked Tangwa out, she said that she wanted to rest today and didn't go out. Tangy also came to ask Tanghua and Tang Kuei if they wanted to go out for lunch or something, but she was rejected by them because they wanted to take a nap. Tangy sat alone in the living room, holding a pillow and watching TV. She felt very uncomfortable. They were really brother and sister, and the reason they rejected her was exactly the same. Fortunately, they were in their own rooms, so she felt a little better. The reason why she waited here instead of taking a nap was that she was afraid that they would suddenly decide to go out and have fun. Today, she wouldn't give them a chance to go out alone. Since she made the wish, Tangy had been waiting every day for Tang Kuei to give her his heart. She didn't believe that the lucky charm would not work here. It must work, it must. As long as it worked, she didn't need anything else. Tang Kuei was enough. New first and R.B.N. and R.B.N. Tanghua and Tang Kuei didn't take a nap. Both of them sat in the room, holding their mobile phones in a daze. Because they both knew that today in the original plot was the day that Family Tang couple died. They were very confident in the life-saving charm they gave Family Tang couple. If they couldn't even guarantee this, both of them said that they didn't need to work anymore. And it was a double protection. Family Tang couple listened to them and never took it off. Moreover, they could feel that wearing the gift from Tanghua and Tang Kuei was really good for their health. This kind of benefit couldn't be felt by others, only they could feel it. At 1 o'clock, Tanghua and Tang Kuei's phone rang at the same time. Is it Miss Tang? Is it Mr. Tang? Both of them answered almost at the same time, yes. Then, the people from the hospital told them at the same time that Family Tang couple suddenly lost control of their car and flipped down the hill during a road trip. The car was seriously damaged. Miraculously, when they found the two of them, they only suffered some superficial injuries. After a thorough examination at the hospital, both of them were very healthy. However, for safety reasons, they were still hospitalized for 3 days. After all, this car accident looked very serious. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible for anyone to survive such severe damage to the car. There was no way to explain such an outcome. They could only attribute it to a miracle. 2 minutes after Tanghua and Tang Kuei received the call, Tangy also received the same call. When they got dressed and went downstairs, they saw Tangy hugging her arms and looking pale. Tang Kuei walked up to her and comforted her. Mom and Dad are fine. Let's go and have a look first. Don't worry, Xiao Yi. The hospital has checked them. Our parents only have superficial wounds. There is no other problem. Tanghua also comforted her and patted Tang Yi's shoulder. Looking at Tang Yi's pale face, if she didn't know that it was because of this incident, she would have been scared. Most people would really think that Tang Yi was frightened by this matter. New one Chinese P. Initial, domain name. Please remember Tang Yi tried to calm down. Brother, Guagua, wait for me. I'll go and change right away. She ran upstairs quickly, her mind blank. Her heart was also in a mess. Fortunately, she looked like she was worried about them now and didn't arouse any suspicion. She bit her lip, quickly changed her clothes, and took some necessities. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Chapter 1797. What the hospital staff said on the phone today was the same as the scene in her dream. But the result was different. In the dream, they told her to restrain her grief. Family Tang couple's car overturned the hillside and was seriously damaged. Both of them died on the spot. In reality, Family Tang couple's car overturned and was seriously damaged, but both of them were still alive. What was even more miraculous was that both of them only suffered superficial injuries. New one Chinese P. Initial, domain name. Please remember with complicated feelings, Tang Yi, along with Tanghua and Tang Kuei, rushed to the hospital where Family Tang couple was currently staying. The two of them were traveling by car and were not in the city at the moment. They bought plane tickets at the last minute and flew directly to the city. When they saw the Tang couple in the hospital, they heaved a sigh of relief. The two of them looked lively and had smiles on their faces. Although they were confident about some things, it was inevitable that they would feel some psychological pressure when they experienced it. Don't worry, we're fine. Lin Yinghui held Tang's hand in one hand and Tang Yi's hand in the other. After surviving this disaster, your father and I plan to do charity in the future. Perhaps God saw that we weren't bad people and gave us this miracle. Lin Yinghui and Tang Yonghua had been doing charity for more than 10 years since their baby daughter was separated. They had never stopped doing charity. No matter the reason for their miraculous survival this time, they planned to help more people in the world. There was nothing wrong with doing good. They were also a little scared. In the situation at that time, their minds were blank, and only one word flashed in their mind. It was over. They didn't expect that when they woke up, they were still alive. Not only were they still alive, but they also suffered only superficial injuries. There was no internal injury at all. Even their old bones were fine. Dad, Mom, what happened this time was really thrilling. Tangy couldn't help but ask, what happened before? She asked this just to see if it was the same as the scene in her dream. Family Tang couple didn't hide anything and told her everything they could remember at that time. Tang Yi's face turned pale after hearing it. Family Tang couple said that when Tang Yonghua was driving, he didn't lose control of the car for no reason. Suddenly, he seemed to see a figure in front of him and subconsciously turned the steering wheel in another direction. Unexpectedly, he rushed down the hillside directly. Before rushing down, he tried to control the car, but found that the car seemed to be controlled by something. There was no way to control it at all. This scene was exactly the same as the situation in Tang Yi's dream. The dream was her dream, so she knew more about it. Family Tang couple in the dream died on the spot. Of course, she didn't want them to die, but she vaguely felt that if Tang couple didn't die, Tang Kuei would never give his heart to her. As soon as this thought came to her mind, Yinghui, Tang Yu, her face, Tang Yinghui, Yonghua, don't say anymore. Look, you scared Xiaoyi. Akue Guogua, you two take Xiaoyi to eat first. Lin Yinghui said, your dad and I haven't eaten yet. After you eat, bring it to us. Xiaoyi is scared. Let her go to the hotel to rest. Tang Kuei didn't refuse. He could see that Tang Yonghua and Lin Yinghui had something to say to him in Xiaogua. This time, Tang Yi didn't refuse. She really needed to rest and calm down the terrible thoughts just now. When they came back to the hospital, Tang Kuei closed the door. Mobile Terminal PS Family Tang couple took out the necklace and the Buddha beads on their wrists and showed them to the two people. Want to talk with more like-minded people? Quickly change into a female supporting role. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find confidence. Chapter 1798. One of the Buddha beads that Guogua gave us has cracked, Tang Yonghua said as he stretched out his wrist. Lin Yinghui did the same. The two of them stretched out their wrists in front of Tanghua and Tang Kuei for them to see. The Buddha beads bracelet was made of sandalwood. Even if it was the sandalwood of the immortal world, it was still wood. Each bead was polished smooth and round. However, there was a sandalwood bead in each of the two Buddha beads bracelets in front of them. It was different from the other beads. The surface of the beads was almost lusterless. One could vaguely see that there were small cracks like a spider on the surface of the beads. Although it was very subtle, there were not too many cracks. At first glance, one would think that someone had made it with rotten wood and that it could rot at any time. There was also a crack on the jade token that Tang Kuei gave to Tang Yonghua and the pendant that he gave to Lin Yinghui. Although the crack was very small, it was impossible to notice it if one did not pay attention. However, they liked these two things very much. In addition, they first discovered the problem with the Buddha beads bracelet and subconsciously checked the jade token and pendant hanging around their necks. They did not expect to find a new crack on them. Tang Kuei was not surprised when he saw that only one bead of the Buddha beads bracelet was damaged. 111 had checked the Buddha beads bracelet before. The power inside was very strong. It was not strange that only one bead was damaged after such a serious car accident, although the jade token and pendant that he gave were also very expensive in the market. Tang Yonghua's jade token, not counting the others, should be able to be sold at the current market price for about 3 million yuan. Lin Yinghui's jade pendant was also about the same price. However, if he really wanted to compare these two with the Buddha beads that Tanghua gave him, they could not be compared. According to his calculation, if it were not for the Buddha beads that Tanghua gave him, the jade token and pendant should be full of cracks and completely lose their luster in order to save the lives of the couple. Even if they did not break, they would lose all their value. Even a child might not like them. Although my mind was blank before, I clearly remember that there was a very special power protecting my body. When there was a lot of pressure, although I was protected, I could still feel the pressure around me. If it was really a human body that withstood it, I might have died on the spot. Tang Yonghua said with lingering fear. Even if he escaped with his life, the feeling of death that instantly filled his mind. He would never forget it for the rest of his life. He and Lin Yinghui had a tacit understanding of this situation. They did not intend to tell anyone about it. At that time, someone asked them about their previous situation. Apart from this strange feeling, they did not hide anything else. Later, they found that one of the Buddhist beads was full of small cracks, as if it was made of rotten wood. They recalled the scene of them falling down the hill and concluded that it was most likely a Buddhist bead given to them by a senior monk to save their lives. This kind of thing definitely could not be spread outside, Otherwise, how could there only be one problem with the Buddha beads? As for fragile items like the jade pendant and the jade plate, except for such a serious accident, they were not damaged at all. There was only a small crack in the innermost part. They had no choice but to believe that it was the items consecrated by the master that protected them. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, you have to be a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find confidence. Chapter 1799. After the family Tang couple expressed their thoughts, they began to ask Tanghua and Tang Kuei about the Buddha beads, jade pendants, and the master. The two of them answered with tacit understanding. The Grandmaster was a wanderer, an expert who traveled the world. It was purely fate that brought them together. Back then, he saw that Tanghua hit it off, so he gave her something and left. Now, they couldn't find him at all. On the other hand, Tang Kuei said that he had never seen the master. The item that he gave them was bought from someone else at a high price. He heard that it was a product of a powerful master, so he bought it at all costs. The two of them sighed and didn't force it. That's right. How could such an expert stay in one place? When we are discharged, let's go to the temple to fulfill our vows, Lin Yinghui said. Let's go to the Guagua Charity Foundation and have a look. It's better to do good things than to do bad things. Tang Yonghua nodded. The company has been handed over to Kuei, and Guagua is doing well. In the future, the Tang family will depend on the two of them. Let's go to the Guagua Charity Foundation occasionally. When we first set up this foundation, we thought that there would be many parents in the world who would feel the same way as us. No one wants their child to go missing. With everyone's help, we've helped many people find their lost children over the years. Thinking of this, the couple's faces were full of smiles. That's right. Every time they saw the family reunited, they wondered when their Guagua would come back. Their efforts were not in vain. Guagua was back. The two of them then reminded Tanghua and Tang Kuei not to spread the news that the master gave them a magical item. This kind of thing was mysterious and wonderful. It was fine if they didn't believe it. If they heard it, they would inevitably have some thoughts and bring disaster. They would only announce to the public that the car accident was a miracle. When the time came, the people outside would naturally find excuses for them. For example, they had been helping thousands of families to find their lost children for more than 10 years. God saw that they were trying to be good people and suddenly showed mercy and didn't want their lives. There would also be people who would believe it. Guagua, didn't the master give you such a magical item? Lin Yinghui thought of Tanghua and looked at the Buddhist prayer beads on her wrist. I think the Buddhist prayer beads are magical. How about I take a few of them, and you two carry them with you? No need, Mom. We have enough. Tang Kuei raised his wrist. Didn't I ask my sister for a gift last time? She prepared it for me. As for the pendant I gave her, it was actually consecrated by a master. What's different is that Guagua's prayer beads were personally given to her by Grandmaster. As for what I gave you, I spent a lot of money to buy it from someone else. Lin Yinghui remembered this matter. She previously thought that Tanghua's beautiful jade pendant was not made by a master. Tang Kuei said that he had given it to Tanghua. It was also a product of a master and had been consecrated. The couple thought that the one in Tang Yi's hand was the same, so they didn't ask further. After chatting for so long, the couple was a little tired and wanted to rest. They also asked Tanghua and Tang Kuei to go back to the hotel to rest. After all, they flew to the hospital and must be very tired. Yonghua, let's not go to those difficult places in the future. The scenery is beautiful, but we need to be alive to see it. Tang Yonghua replied, let's listen to Minghui. Yonghua, I suddenly remember something is wrong. If you want to talk with more like-minded people, you have to be calm. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1800. What's wrong? Tang Yonghua was puzzled. Yinghui, what do you remember? Tang Yonghua, who didn't care at first, became serious when he saw Lin Yinghui's dignified look. What do you remember, Yinghui? Yonghua, I remember something. Lin Yinghui looked at Tang Yonghua and said, do you think the gift that Guoghua and Kuei gave Xiaoyi was really consecrated by the master? It was not that she doubted her son and daughter. Even if they really didn't give Tang Yi consecrated by the master, she was not qualified to blame them. Perhaps there were only a few things, and they only gave it to the person they cherished the most. If there were too many things, Lin Yinghui's heart would inevitably be a little subtle. This meant that not only Kuei didn't like Xiaoyi, but Guoghua also didn't like Xiaoyi. She also saw Tang Yi's depressed look recently, but she couldn't help it. Kuei and Guoghua were biological siblings. It was normal for them to be close. As a mother, she couldn't blame Kuei and Guoghua for not being so close. She had to think about Tang Yi. That wouldn't do. Tang Yonghua was stunned for a moment. Why do you think so? Yonghua, do you remember the last time Xiaoyi had an accident? If she was wearing the things that Guoghua and Kuei gave her, and the things above fell down, would Xiaoyi be able to avoid the accident? Hearing Lin Yinghui's words, Tang Yonghua also pondered. Yes, were the things that Guoghua and Kuei gave to them and Xiaoyi really different? Were they biological siblings? How could they be unified? He couldn't blame them. Guoghua and Xiaoyi were not close, and the things given by the master were very precious. As for Kuei, he didn't like to be close to Xiaoyi since he was a child, so it was not surprising that he didn't give her such things. But Yinghui might not be able to accept it. After all, Yinghui really loved these three children. She always hoped that they could love each other. Let's find an opportunity to ask them. Tang Yonghua comforted her. Yinghui, don't think too much. The children have their own ideas. As parents, we should be as fair as possible, but no one can interfere with what they think. If we interfere with them, it may cause conflicts. I know. Lin Yinghui sighed. When did I force them to play together? I don't think Xiaoyi and Guoghua can play together. Yes, Xiaoyi has good friends who play with her. During the holidays and weekends, these young girls will ask her out to play. However, Guoghua was now wholeheartedly focused on the company. Every now and then, I would be coaxed by that brat Taoyu to watch a movie. I don't know what's so good about it. Lin Yinghui couldn't help but laugh. You're not either? If you have some time, you can spend it in the study and play with the Yixing clay teapot and other antiques that Taoyu gave you. Come on, you're all the same. Tang Yonghua found it funny. The two of them fell asleep as they talked, but this matter remained in their hearts. When Tanghua and her friends came to the hospital again, they all paid attention to Tang Yi. Originally, they wanted to ask Tanghua and Tang Kuei alone whether the gift was made by the master or not. When they noticed Tang Yi's wrist, they saw Tang Yi wearing the Buddhist bead bracelet that Tanghua gave her before. Today, Tang Yi was wearing a half-sleeved woolen coat. Inside the coat, she was wearing a close-fitting woolen sweater. Because it was very close-fitting, the cuffs of the sleeves were tightened. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, you have to be calm. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1801. One could tell at a glance whether she was wearing any jewelry on her wrist. Tang Yi was indeed wearing a jewelry. It was a bracelet with many gems on her wrist, which looked very beautiful. Seeing this, the family Tang couple was a little stunned. Lin Yinghui asked, Xiao Yi, why aren't you wearing the bracelet that Guoghua gave you? Lin Yinghui thought that the bracelet might be a gift from a master, which could protect her safety. That was why she reminded her. She didn't expect that this sentence would make Tang Yi feel uncomfortable. Mom, the Buddhist bracelet given by Guoghua is quite good, but it doesn't seem to match my clothes. I'll wear it when the weather gets warmer and I find matching clothes. Tang Yi tried hard to maintain a smile as she said this. Why didn't her mother ask Tangwa why she didn't wear the gift she gave her at all times? The older she got, the more biased she became. She didn't ask them to like her or care about her, nor did she ask for fairness. Now, their demands had actually increased. They even asked her to wear their daughter's things at all times. Tangi suddenly felt that it was really ridiculous. Sure enough, she was not their biological daughter, but the difference in treatment was too big. Tang Yonghua also asked, Xiao Yi, did you wear the jade pendant that Kuei gave you today? Dad, it's winter. No matter how beautiful the jade pendant is, it can't be exposed outside. I like the jade pendant that Big Brother gave me very much, but I'll wear it when the weather gets hot. She put away all the things that Tang Kuei gave her, for fear that she would accidentally break them or steal them. Today, the couple mostly asked about it and forgot about it. Finally, she didn't think about wearing the things that Tangwa gave her at all. The Buddhist bracelet was not suitable for her, and it didn't look good. It was not suitable for any clothes. She was a young female student. Why would she wear that kind of thing? She glanced at the family Tang couple and Tang Kuei's wrists. They all had the same type of Buddhist bracelet with different designs. She frowned slightly. So, they were wearing it, and they wanted her to wear it too? It really didn't make sense. Tang Yonghua and Lin Yinghui had seen many people in their lives and experienced many ups and downs. They were so close to each other. How could they not feel Tang Yi's resistance to their words? They even felt the alienation from Tang Yi. Thus, he could only feel a little helpless. In the end, Tang Yi still cared that they loved Guagua. They could understand the little girl's jealousy. Tang Yi refuses to wear the bracelet given by Tangua. They can also know what she is thinking. Thinking of the Buddha bracelet, Lin Yinghui reminded her again. Mom thinks that the Buddha bracelet given by Guagua is really good. After wearing it for a long time, it really had the effect of strengthening the body. So, Xiaoi can try wearing it occasionally. I know, Mom. Tang Yi's smile almost disappeared. I'll try it when it gets hot. After all, my winter clothes are all close-fitting, and it's not good to wear those. Hearing this, Lin Yinghui knew it was an excuse. Feeling that Tang Yi was even more unhappy, he didn't say anything. If they continued to talk about it, it would be a very unpleasant day. Now she understood. Even if the Buddha bracelet given by Guagua was the same as theirs, Xiaoi would probably not wear it. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, you have to be calm. Look, talk about life, find confidence. Chapter 1802. She couldn't tell them that Tang Yi was her daughter, and Guagua was her daughter too. She didn't want to tell them the magic of the Buddhist beads. Even if Tang Yi was her adopted daughter, she still cared about her. But they didn't have a good relationship. If she told them such an important thing, who knew if Guagua would be in danger in the future? She was selfish, and she loved Guagua more. Tang Yonghua didn't say anything. Obviously, he agreed with Lin Yinghui and didn't want to tell Tang Yi the truth. Tang Yi didn't like Guagua at all. In fact, he also felt uncomfortable. Speaking of which, Guagua didn't enjoy much love at home since she was born. Tang Yonghua didn't say anything. Instead, he was reading the copybook brought by Tanghua with great interest. In Tang Yi's impression, Tang Yonghua had a lot of hobbies, especially calligraphy, painting, antiques, and so on. There was a big room in the villa to put his things. Tang Yonghua didn't say anything and focused on reading the copybook. She didn't feel strange at all. She didn't know that Tang Yonghua was unhappy in his heart, but he didn't want to blame her. Dad, what do you want to eat for lunch? I'll bring it for you. Tanghua sat on the bed and asked Tang Yonghua. She finally understood what the two of them were talking about. If Tang Yi listened to them and decided to wear the Buddhist beads. If something really happened in the future, even if they didn't say anything, they would still feel uncomfortable. After all, in their eyes, Tang Yi was just a little bit arrogant, but not bad. They didn't know that Tang Yi's unintentional wishes had caused suffering to this family. Now Tang Yi refused to wear the Buddhist beads. If something happened in the future, it had nothing to do with her. What she wanted was Tang Yi to suffer the consequences of her own actions. Whatever she wanted, she wouldn't let her achieve it. After all, a person's soul was scattered because of Tang Yi. Her revenge, wasn't it? System host, please restrain that smirk on your face. What if you scare your father to death? Tang Yonghua raised his eyelids and glanced at Tanghua. I don't have any appetite for now, You have to eat. Tang Yongbua, whatever. Then I'll bring you and Mom some of your favorite food. How about that? Tang Yongbua's mood improved a little. Okay. After that, he glanced at the copybook. Where did you find this thing? Big Brother Tao sent it over. Tanghua answered honestly. Tao Yu is here? Tang Yongbua and Lin Yinghui asked at the same time. Where is he? Why isn't he here? Tang Kuei then asked, why is he here again? Why was that guy always lingering around like a ghost? Wherever his sister was, he would be there. He was really like a piece of sticky candy. He's in the restaurant, Tanghua said matter-of-factly. He came early this morning, saying that he was afraid that Dad would be bored. He happened to find this copybook and brought it to you. He told me to send it over first. He went to the restaurant and asked me to ask Dad and Mom what they want to eat later. He told me to send it over when the time comes. Lin Yinghui's face was full of smiles. Little Tao is so thoughtful. Tang Yongbua. Yeah. Later, Tanghua told the two that Qinxian and Zhaowen would also come in the afternoon. In fact, some of the family's important relatives were also rushing over. After all, the identity of the couple was still very important. Tangy sat silently on the side. Looking at the happy and harmonious appearance of the family, she felt a little breathless. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people. She quickly changed into a female supporting role. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Chapter 1803. Within 2 days, everyone who was related to the family came to visit them in the hospital. When they found out about the situation, they all expressed their disbelief that they had survived. Just as they expected, there were rumors in the outside world that the two of them were lucky enough to survive because they insisted on doing good deeds. They had found their daughter and survived the disaster. They were bound to have good fortune in the future. After a few days of observation in the hospital, the two of them were indeed fine, so they were discharged and returned home. Tang Kuei and Tanghua resumed their busy days. Occasionally, when they were free, Tanghua would be invited by Tao Yu to watch movies and sci-fi exhibitions. Tang Kuei glanced coldly at Tao Yu, feeling helpless in his heart. This Tao Yu was too good at coaxing. Apart from him, Guogua's adoptive parents had fallen for him. Even the helper in the villa had fallen for him. Some of the higher-ups in the company who knew Tao Yu also thought that Guogua and the other party were a match made in heaven. He couldn't see how Tao Yu was worthy of his sister. 111 said, Host, don't be unhappy. In fact, apart from other things, Tao Yu is indeed the only man who is most sincere to your fake sister. He doesn't have any ulterior motives. Moreover, he's really outstanding. Tang Kuei said, How is he outstanding? His biggest motive is to kidnap my sister. Doesn't that count? 111 said weakly, Host, someone who can monopolize the garbage industry. Don't you think he's outstanding? Now, all the people in the country are counting on him to dispose of garbage. If it weren't for Tao Yu, people's lives would be in trouble. Host, tell me, do you dispose of garbage every day? If the garbage company breaks down today, and no one comes to collect garbage for your company, will the employees collapse? Moreover, a lot of the garbage in your company is harmful. Don't you think you can count on Tao Yu? He really wasn't criticizing the host. This was the truth. At present, the terminal of the garbage company in Tao Yu's hands was really advanced. Especially in the past year, it had led the world in NS. Now, many countries abroad wanted to cooperate with Tao Yu and wanted to introduce this advanced technology to dispose of harmful garbage. That man was quite capable and was worthy of the host's fake sister. Moreover, the host didn't seem to have the ability to stop the man that the fake sister liked. Nothing. He only knew how to vent his anger. All right, he chose to forgive her every time. After all, she was his thigh. Big Brother Tao, you guys really managed to figure it out? Tanghua was a little surprised when she heard Tao Yu say that it was now possible to dispose of most of the hazardous waste created by people at a high speed and in an environmentally friendly manner. After all, only a little more than a year had passed. Tao Yu nodded with a smile. Xiao Guo, it's all thanks to you for giving me the idea. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be who I am today. Now, many people want to import this technology. My plan is to let them export their rubbish to us. Not only can you make money, but you can also find all kinds of useful things from the garbage. Big brother Tao, you're amazing. Tao Yu was elated by the compliments. Not bad. Compared to Xiao Guo, he was still a little lacking. If he could get Xiao Guo to agree to marry him earlier, he would be really amazing. He had to keep an eye on such an outstanding girl. Tang Kuei probably didn't know that Xiao Guo had helped him a lot. If he knew, he would be furious. Originally, he wanted to show off, but he thought that such an outstanding Xiao Guo should be kept to himself. If Tang Kuei knew, he would definitely stop him from getting close to Xiao Guo. Sure enough, the lucky charm is a lie. Tang Yi was in the dormitory, holding the lucky charm and staring at it. You can't fulfill my wish at all. The previous wishes have come true every time. Why can't it come true this time? I'd rather you. The previous wishes didn't come true, but only this time. Tang Yi held the lucky charm tightly and raised her hand to throw it into the trash can. Why would she keep such a useless thing? At this moment, she felt the lucky charm in her hand emitting a scorching heat. Want to chat with more like-minded people? Quickly change into a female supporting role. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1804. The lucky charm suddenly became hot, and Tang Yi almost threw it out. Fortunately, she stopped in the end. She opened her palm in confusion and stared at the stone. She was very puzzled. Why did she get a fever all of a sudden? Seeing this, Tang Yi froze on the spot. At this moment, she was the only one in the dormitory, but she still subconsciously looked at the door. Seeing that no one opened the door, she looked at the stone again. On the smooth and flat side, there were a few small words, insufficient energy. Tang Yi couldn't help but touch the stone, which was still hot. It was not as hot as before, but she could feel that it was still warm. She guessed that the reason why the lucky charm became hot just now was that it felt that she was going to throw it away, so it woke her up. So, was it really because of the lucky charm that all her wishes came true? Just as she thought about it, a few words appeared on the lucky charm. Who else could it be but me? Tang Yi was shocked. Could he know what she was thinking? Of course, the lucky charm has been bound. If it weren't for me, would you be adopted by the family Tang couple? Tang Yi widened her eyes. Now she was really sure that this lucky charm could really make her wish come true. She tried to ask, I made a wish to be the top scholar in the college entrance examination. Was it also because of your help that I dreamed of those questions the night before? The lucky charm was. Getting a positive answer, Tang Yi felt a little complicated. It turned out that her wish was really because of the lucky charm. She held the lucky charm tightly, thinking of her wish this time, and asked again, Why didn't you help me this time? Aren't you a lucky charm? Can't you make a wish come true by writing it? It's been several months since the day of making a wish, let alone winning my brother's heart. Sometimes we can't even see each other once a week. The lucky charm's energy was insufficient. Insufficient energy? Tang Yi didn't ask what the price of making a wish was. Maybe she didn't think so much, or maybe she deliberately ignored this problem. Now she saw the words insufficient energy again. She remembered that these words were the first words she saw. Now her mind was full of when she could make Tang Kuei's wish come true. Now that the lucky charm had told her the reason, she was eager to know how to solve it. What should I do? Do you need me to do anything? After asking, Tang Yi added, As long as I can do it, don't ask me to do anything bad. The lucky charm was a person who was close to good luck. Tang Yi hesitated for a few minutes and then asked, Can people with good luck replenish your energy? Will it bring any danger to the other party? The lucky charms had gained their favor. The good luck talisman showed these words again, but it didn't explain whether it would bring danger to the other party. When Tang Yi saw this message, she also subconsciously ignored it. Getting close to the other party and gaining the other party's favor would not bring any danger to the other party. What she was thinking was that she only needed to gain the goodwill of others. Wasn't it just making friends? There was no problem at all. She didn't want to think about the other disadvantages. As long as she helped the lucky charm replenish its energy, she would be able to fulfill her wish. After pondering for a while, Tang Yi began to recall in her mind who had better luck. She planned to meet them today. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1805. Tang Yi thought of Tang Kuei and Tang Guo first, but Tang Kuei was the first person she ruled out. Tang Kuei was very busy recently. According to the family Tang couple, he was abroad for more than half a month. As for Tang Guo, she was a little more free than Tang Kuei. They didn't play together. Whenever Tang Guo had some free time, she would be invited by Tao Yu to watch a movie. She didn't care about their relationship at all. Speaking of which, the family Tang couple was also very lucky. However, ever since she had survived that disaster in school, the couple had been running to the charity foundation all day long. They had been busy doing charity work every day. Even on weekends, they didn't go out to play. They were addicted to charity. In the end, Tang Yi chose to approach Chun Xian and Zhao Wan. She had done her research before. Speaking of which, these two people were quite lucky. They picked up a random daughter, and she was the daughter of the family Tang. The main thing was that this daughter was found and brought back to her family. Even if she returned to her original family, she wouldn't forget them. Tang Yi decided to ask her roommates to go to the snack bar later. Because of Tang Guo, she seldom went to the snack bar after she went to college. The people in school who didn't know about her relationship with Tang Guo didn't know about it. They also didn't know that Tang Guo was the adopted daughter of the popular snack bar. After class in the afternoon, Tang Yi asked her roommates to go to the snack bar of Chun Xian and Zhao Wan. To her surprise, Tang Guo, who was always busy, was also there. Not only was Tang Guo there, but Tao Yu was also there. They saw each other, so she had to go and greet them. After greeting them, Tang Yi began to order snacks. Chun Xian and Zhao Wan were not familiar with Tang Yi. Seeing that she was not familiar with Tang Guo and they didn't have any conflicts, they naturally treated her well and were very enthusiastic. Tang Yi had a purpose, so she communicated with Zhao Wan very politely. In other people's eyes, she should be very familiar with the boss of this snack bar. Host, the lucky charm in Tang Yi's hand is emitting a very evil power. It's floating towards your parents. It seems like it wants to steal something. However, he didn't succeed. The things I gave father and mother are products of the immortal world. If they can't stop this evil thing, Big Bro Crimson Sky won't be able to survive in the immortal world. Although the system couldn't steal luck, it still had a certain effect on the snack bar. After all, that evil being was unable to hold itself back and wanted to take the initiative to attack. Host, I will keep an eye on this place for the time being.
Yes.
Tang Guo glanced at Tang Yi, who was chatting with Zhao Wan. Tang Yi was eating. Tao Yu always felt that something was wrong. From the beginning, he thought that Xiao Guo didn't like Tang Yi. After such a long observation, he was sure that she didn't like Tang Yi. Occasionally, he looked at Tang Yi with cold eyes. He didn't understand. Brother Tao, why are you looking at me? Hurry up and eat. It won't taste good if it gets cold. I've been busy recently. There are not many opportunities like this. Tao Yu said, I'm eating. I'm not very busy recently. Xiao Guo, if you want to eat the delicious food made by uncle and aunt, I can bring it to you. Yes, Xiao Guo, what do you want to eat? I can ask Xiao Tao to bring it to you. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, please be calm. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1806. Hearing this, Chun Xian quickly said with a smile, It's not far from the company. Xiao Tao can send it downstairs. It's very convenient for you to come down and pick it up. He and Zhao Wan both thought that Tao Yu was a good man. He was young and promising, and he was devoted to their daughter. Tang Guo and Tao Yu finished the snacks, said goodbye to the couple and Tang Yi, and then left. Because Tang Yi approached the couple with an evil spirit, the system has been monitoring the whole shop. Tang Guo knew that Tang Yi went to the snack bar several times a day. For half a month, Tang Yi went to the snack bar at least once a day. After sitting down, she would chat with Zhao Wan. Because of Tang Yi's intention, they became more familiar with each other and chatted happily. With Tang Yi's current performance, Zhao Wan felt that Tang Yi seemed to be a good girl. She didn't know that every time Tang Yi approached her, she would shut herself in the bathroom, take out the lucky charm, and ask Zhao Wan if it had enough energy. If the lucky charm still said that it didn't have enough energy, Then she would continue to approach Xiaowen until the lucky charm said that it had enough energy. In fact, she didn't know what the lucky charm needed to absorb to replenish its energy. She didn't ask, and she didn't want to ask. She was afraid to ask. She was subconsciously afraid that this thing was doing something bad. She didn't notice these things. Every time she comforted herself that she didn't do anything bad to Xiaowen and Xiaowen, she just chatted with them. She kept a distance from them. No matter what happened to Xiaowen and Xiaowen, it had nothing to do with her. Tangwa guessed Tang Yi's thoughts. She wanted to take advantage of others, so she had to find a reason that she didn't do anything and wouldn't hurt others. A few days later, the system's voice suddenly sounded. "Host, something happened in the snack bar. What's the matter?" Tangwa was in the company now. Now she was one of the core members of the company, and she had her own office. Hearing the system's words, she was not nervous. When the snack bar became popular, she already expected that something would happen in the future. But she didn't expect that it could last so long. Someone reported that your parents added something addictive to the snacks, so that people would linger on the snacks and want to eat more. Tangwa was not surprised at all. Under normal circumstances, this was the only reason to report the snack bar. Anything else? They also reported that the food in the snack bar was unhygienic, that the ingredients used were substandard, and that the meat was smelly and rotten. In any case, it was all about ingredients and hygiene. Currently, there were a few people in the shop. They were probably here to mess with the snack bar. I saw them secretly putting some minced meat into the bowls and plates, intending to shift the blame to others. Host, your parents, on the other hand, look very calm. They don't look worried at all. They look very confident. Tangwa couldn't help laughing. They are probably glad that I installed surveillance cameras in the snack bar. Let's go. It's such a big matter. We have to go and take a look. When Tangwa arrived at the store, there were many people around. The people from the food administration had just arrived. A few people who seemed to be customers sitting in the snack bar suddenly became noisy when they saw them. They expressed that they had eaten tasty meat. This restaurant was unhygienic and unregulated. They wondered if the restaurant was so popular because it added something addictive. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1807. In addition to these people who seemed to be customers, there were also other customers who came to eat snacks from all over the world. Because the business was too good, Xiaowen and her husband happened to buy the shop next door and opened a door to expand the snack shop. At this time, there were not many people in the snack shop, but there were also many people. Even if the students were still in class, there were still many people who came here because of its reputation. Coincidentally, Tang Yi was also here. Tang Yi was also somewhat surprised that such a thing happened, so she stood aside. Although she didn't say anything, because this snack shop was opened by Tang's adoptive parents. Seeing that something had happened, she actually had a faint feeling of joy in her heart. In short, a certain kind of depression from before also dissipated because of this matter. Seeing those people talking as if it was true, and even took out the bad meat and the dirty things in the meat, she felt nauseous. She also felt a little nauseous. She didn't expect this snack bar to be so dirty. No wonder it attracted so many famous people to eat here. It turned out that they put something that might make people addicted. The ingredients in our shop are absolutely clean and fresh. It's impossible to have the kind of problem you said. Chen Xian stood up and said, "As for the other bad things you said, I can also guarantee that except for the main seasoning, we don't add other things in the food. As for why so many people are attracted to eat here, there's only one possibility." Speaking of this, Chen Xian also kept them guessing. After a pause, he continued, "Attracting so many customers, of course, the only possibility is that the snacks are delicious. We can't use other means to violate the food regulations to carry out abnormal business. Most of the people who come to eat in our shop are students. Although my daughter rarely comes back to school, she hasn't graduated from college yet. Even if it's for our daughter, we can't do this kind of evil." Zhaowen also nodded and said to the surrounding people who looked like students, "You all often come to Auntie's shop to eat snacks. Tell me, have you ever had a problem eating here? Even if you want to eat our food, if you don't eat it, will you feel uncomfortable?" Those students shook their heads. The food is delicious, and we have been eating here for more than a year. I can guarantee that there's absolutely no problem. After saying that, he pointed at the plate in front of him. Today's meat is very fresh. The same goes for the vegetables. They are all very hydrated and the taste is as good as before. As for hygiene, Auntie and Uncle always wear gloves when they bring and cut the vegetables for us. It can be seen that they are very strict about hygiene. They didn't believe that there was something wrong with this shop. Moreover, they came here every day to eat those unfamiliar faces, so they couldn't be mistaken. It should be the other party's first time here. Why don't we take the food for inspection? Wouldn't everything be fine then? At this time, Tangy, who was sitting in the corner, opened her mouth. Uncle and Auntie, if there is no problem with their snack bar, they won't find anything. After Tangy finished speaking, she felt that Zhaowen and Chunxian's gaze towards her was a bit different. However, the two of them only glanced at each other before moving away. She did not see anything. The two of them used to run a small business. Although they didn't have much success, they knew a lot of people. In today's situation, even if they didn't look at the surveillance cameras, they could guess that someone was trying to mess with them. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1808. After hearing Tangy's words, they couldn't help but think about it. Did the other party do it intentionally or not? So many people appeared at the same time and said that there was something wrong with their snacks. After a while, the people from the food administration came. It couldn't be a coincidence. The other party was too well prepared. They even suspected that there might be something wrong with the food inside. If they checked it now, it was impossible not to find the problem. Mom, Dad, let's let them check it first. Tangwa pushed the crowd and walked into the shop. Let's check it first and then we'll talk about other things. The couple agreed. So they opened today's finished food in some seasoning basins and asked people to go in and check. The people from the food administration went in with some people to check. After a while, they came out with some problematic ingredients. They pointed at one of the basins and said that it was mixed with something that could make people addicted. When the people in the shop heard it, they were shocked. The customers who had reported him earlier laughed out loud. The real customers were a little confused and looked at Zhaowen and her husband in confusion. In their impression, they didn't think that the couple would do that kind of thing. Tangy also couldn't believe it. Uncle, Auntie, what's wrong with you? Guogua, do you know about this? Why didn't you persuade them? How can they do this kind of thing? Tangy's disappointed face made Tangwa feel a little funny. She finally understood how the evil thing absorbed energy. As long as Zhaowen and her husband were unlucky today and the shop was closed, the evil thing's energy would be replenished. The evil thing's ability was to spread bad luck. The more people suffered from bad luck, the stronger its ability would be. Zhaowen and her husband understood that even if Tangy didn't have any bad intentions to them, she didn't have any good intentions. If a normal person stood on their side, they would definitely not say such things on the spot. They had lived for most of their lives, and the faint joy in the little girl's eyes was really too obvious. We want to check the surveillance video first and see what the truth is in the surveillance video, Chunxian said. The people from the food administration were not unreasonable. In fact, they had checked this shop before, and they didn't find any problem. But today, they didn't believe that there was a problem easily. They had even eaten at this restaurant before. It was indeed delicious. The vegetables were fresh and tender, and the meat was smooth and smooth. It was a rare delicacy. Most importantly, Mr. Tao seemed to be very interested in this shop. Oh, that's not right. Mr. Tao wasn't very enthusiastic about their daughter. I'll go check the surveillance footage. The surveillance cameras installed in the store were just a cover. What she really took out was a clear recording from the system. The people who thought that they had succeeded were all stunned when they heard that there were surveillance cameras in the shop. Then, Tangwa took out her laptop and quickly found the footage from this time period. When they saw with their own eyes the scene of a new employee secretly putting something into the seasoning basin half a month ago, they all had different expressions. Then, he saw that the people who were eating also stuffed rotten meat into their mouths when no one was paying attention. They even pretended to take a bite. Their expressions were also indescribable. The faces of those who had framed her turned pale. Being recorded on the spot by the surveillance cameras and framed was no small matter. "Dad, Mom, let's call the police. I suspect that these people have a lot of bad things in their hands. This kind of thing that is harmful to society must be eliminated." Those who had caused trouble were so scared that their faces turned pale. They hurriedly wanted to run away. Unexpectedly, they were directly pushed down by a few male students at the next table. One of the boys said very angrily, "I've eaten before this snack shop opened. You little bastards almost closed the shop and made me have no food in the future. You're so bad." If you want to chat with more like-minded people, quickly change into a female supporting role and calm down. Look, talk about life and find friends. Chapter 1809. Not long after, the few saboteurs were taken away by the police. When it came to such matters, they took it very seriously. After 2 days of investigation and interrogation, they finally found out why the saboteurs were sabotaging the snack bar. It turned out that these people did not have a large number of items that were harmful to society. The items that were used to frame the snack bar were given to them by their boss. Their boss was planning to open a snack bar on this street. But this Chin snack bar was very popular. He thought that the existence of this shop would have a great impact on his new shop. In fact, as long as the food outside the school was not too bad and had a little specialty, it was impossible for the shop to close down. After all, there were a lot of students. How could a snack bar monopolize everyone? But that boss just wanted to eat until he was fat. According to his own account, he suddenly thought of this idea. Anyway, he had some of that kind of thing in his hometown, so he used it. Because of this, the boss was also punished. The business of opening the shop was closed. Because of this incident, the snack bar attracted a new batch of customers. In the end, Chen Xian even set up a monitor outside the snack bar that was directly connected to the place where he made the snacks. Anyway, many of the ingredients were already prepared. Even if people watched him make the food, they would not be able to imitate his taste if they did not grasp the essence. When the passing students and customers looked at the big monitor at the entrance of the snack bar, it was recording the scene of Chen Xian making the snacks. This boss is a ruthless person. The students who walked to the entrance of the snack bar could not help but say, "To be honest, the way this boss makes the snacks is quite pleasing to the eye. To be able to make so many snacks and to be clean and hygienic, it would be strange if it is not attractive. Did you see how those employees wash the vegetables? I saw it. This shop needs to wash the vegetables." Many people teased. After all, some restaurants really did not know how to wash some dishes. Even if it was to be washed, they would only put it in the water and pick it up. Did you see that? That piece of meat is definitely good meat. Yes, I saw it. I know. This shop can definitely eat without worry. Many students joked with Chun Xian. "Boss, we know. Your food is good. You don't have to prove yourself." The snack bar was even more popular than before. However, Chun Xian and Zhao Wen had no intention of expanding. It was enough for now. They were not that ambitious. After that day, Tang Yi didn't come to the snack bar again. Why is there still insufficient energy? Tang Yi looked at the lucky charm and frowned. Is it useless to get close to those two people? Then let's try someone else. In less than 2 days, Tang Yi got close to a senior she knew before. This senior was a straight-A student. Everything that had happened to him since he was young could be described as a cheat. His life had been smooth sailing without any setbacks. After knowing Tang Yi for only a week, this senior student fractured his leg while playing basketball. Hearing the news, Tang Yi was also stunned. At the same time, a few words flashed on the good luck charm. 2 days later, Tang Yi heard another news. That senior student was going to take part in a very important competition because of his broken leg. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change to a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1810. Unexpectedly, because of the inconvenience of his legs, he had a small accident and missed the competition time. He had been lucky since he was a child, and he was also a high-spirited person in school. However, During this period of time, he kept having bad luck. Now, this senior was sitting in the dormitory, reflecting on whether he had used up all his luck in the past 10 years. If that was the case, then wouldn't he be so unlucky in the future? Anything unlucky could happen at the same time. Then, without the protection of the god of luck, what should he do next when he was favored by the god of misfortune? He didn't become dispirited. As the saying goes, every dog has its day. He was just a little unlucky, but he was still alive. And in the past 10 years, his luck was really good. Tanghua also knew about this senior through the system. She was planning to find a way to break the influence of the evil thing on this person. Through this period of observation, she guessed that the evil thing's ability to influence people became weak because of the lack of energy. Tangi suffered from the backlash several times before. It should be the evil thing's warning to Tangi. Tangi didn't suffer from the backlash because the evil thing relied on Tangi to replenish its energy. If Tangi succeeded, it would be fine. If Tangi didn't succeed, she didn't believe that the evil thing could sit still. It would definitely find a way to replenish its energy, even if it had to abandon Tangi. Tongzi, is that boy playing with his mobile phone? Host, he is. He just gave most of the money he got from the previous competitions to his mother for safekeeping. He also said that he was very unlucky and it was not safe to keep it with him. He also asked his family whether they were unlucky or not. Knowing that there was no problem, he was relieved. This male classmate really understood what was going on. Then insert an advertisement in his mobile phone for me. What advertisement? A fortune teller who sells Lucky Charms. If he doesn't believe it, appear in front of him once a day. At this time, everyone will be tempted. System E. The host really asked it to plant a virus in his mobile phone. Why did it have such a reason? Well, the host's virus was the boy's luck. Just when the system was about to do this, it suddenly said, "Host, I don't think it's necessary. This boy should be fine." What's the matter? The system showed the scene it monitored to Tanghua. It turned out that the male student was currently reading in the library. He was chatting with a girl he knew about his bad luck. Coincidentally, this girl was an old acquaintance, Sunini. After Sunini heard that the other party was very unlucky, she might have listened. Not long after the two of them separated, she called her male classmate and said that she wanted to give him a transfer bead. The male student held the transfer bead in his hand that was strung with a red string and said, "I don't think this is a good idea. We're all classmates. I'll lend it to you. You can return it to me when your luck changes." Sunini snatched the transfer bead from the red string and put it on the male student's wrist. He didn't even have time to react. "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be willing to lend you this." The male classmate was stunned for a moment. "Sunini, your words sound a little strange." No wonder the system had been single for so long. Tanghua, who was silently observing, thought, yes, there was always a reason for being single. Sunini looked up and glanced at the male student. What's strange? Chapter 1811. The male student couldn't help but say, "Why did you suddenly give me something? And it's a transfer bead with a red string. Also, Sunini, your face is a little red. What's going on?" System Tanghua was speechless. No matter how good Sunini's temper was, she almost collapsed. She thought that Tangi often went to this guy some time ago, and she thought that they would develop a relationship. Later, she secretly observed that Tangi seemed to be deliberately getting close to this guy, but she didn't have that intention. Every time she went to this guy, she asked him some very professional questions. Except for explaining questions to him, this guy didn't care about Tangi at all. Now that she saw how unlucky he was, she wondered if the heavens also felt that this guy was stupid and wanted to punish him. Think about it yourself. Sunini was a little angry. "I'm leaving. When your luck changes, give me back my transfer bead. This thing is very important to me." With that, she turned and left. The male student stood under the boys' dormitory in a daze, looking at Sunini's petite back as she left, muttering, "If it's so important, why did you give it to others?" "Sunini, today is really strange. But, is this called a transfer bead?" He pinched the bead on his wrist. "I don't know if it's useful. Since Sunini cares so much about it, then wear it. I can't let her down." "Sunini, thank you." When my luck changes, I'll come to thank you." Seeing that Su Nini hadn't gone far, the male student shouted at the top of his voice. Unexpectedly, his shout attracted the attention of all the boys in the boys' dormitory. In the end, when they saw that he was in a daze, they stretched their heads back and discussed whether this guy had profited from a disaster. It seemed that he was going to be single. These days, there were even people who wanted a piece of wood. This guy was a little unlucky recently, but he was really lucky to be liked by such a lovely girl like Su Nini. "It seems that I don't need to intervene." Tangwa opened her eyes with a smile. Even if he was affected by the evil spirit, this boy's luck is actually very strong, comparable to Su Nini's. He was even luckier than Su Nini. It just so happened that the evil beings were running out of energy. That was why he was so unlucky to run into Su Nini. Now, there's no need for the two of them to worry about anything. Let's see how long that evil thing can last. Tangkue also knew about this matter. He chose to have the same attitude as Tangwa and did not care about that side anymore. Tang Yi, on the other hand, would do the same thing every day. He secretly took out the good luck talisman and asked if it had enough energy. When she saw the words insufficient energy, her mind was in a mess. Especially for the past few days, the lucky charm would heat up once a day. It seemed to be reminding her that there was insufficient energy. Actually, she already had some guesses about the senior's sudden misfortune. Not long after she got close to the other party had all kinds of bad luck. There was no such coincidence in this world. Back then, she had made a wish to obtain Tang Kuei's heart. She also had a dream about the death of the family Tang couple. In the end, they both had an accident, but they didn't die. Of course, she didn't get Tang Kuei's heart. The hidden meaning was that the price of Tang Kuei's heart was the death of the family Tang couple. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, hurry up and change into a female supporting role. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1812. Another example was when she was in the orphanage. She wished that she had a pair of loving parents and a rich life. In the end, she was adopted by the Tang family. At the same time, she also knew that the couple had lost their beloved daughter not long ago, so they came to adopt her. Looking at these things separately, it was not a big deal at all. But connecting them together, it was extremely scary. For the first time, she knew that the lucky charm needed to be replenished. The lucky charm told her that she needed to get close to the lucky people. She approached Zhao Wen and her husband. The shop that had been open for 2 years had been running smoothly. Not long after, there were troublemakers. Of course, in the end, the misfortune turned into a blessing. At the same time, her lucky charm did not get any energy. Another thing was that 2 years ago, when she took the college entrance examination for the second time, she made a wish to be the top liberal arts student of that year. The girl who was supposed to be the top liberal arts student of that year seemed to have failed. Thinking of this, Tang Yi could not help but investigate. Su Nini, these 3 names, she would never forget. When she found out about Su Nini, she was stunned on the spot. In the first college entrance examination, Su Nini failed not because of her poor grades, but because she was hit on the head by an object falling from the sky. Later, Su Nini recovered and repeated for a year. When she took the college entrance examination again, her grades were even more dazzling. She was also the top liberal arts student. In order to be with her mother, and with the generous conditions given by the school, Su Nini chose to go to college in this school. In fact, no one knew that there was another reason why Su Nini chose this school to go to college. Tangwa was in this school. These coincidences had been connected by Tang Yi. She could no longer lie to herself that the wish would not cause harm to others. She held the lucky charm and asked in a low voice, "Is it true? If I fulfill my wish, others will pay the price?" There was no free lunch in the world. If you want to get the lucky charm, you must lose it. Looking at this line of words, Tang Yi was a little absent-minded. After a while, the lucky charm showed that the energy was insufficient again. As if she was frightened, she put the good luck charm into a box and hid it in the cupboard, locking it up. This kind of thing was not a good thing. Should she continue to do it? After a while, she took out the lucky charm again and asked again, "Why did I fail to fulfill Tang Kuei's sincere wish?" The Lucky Charm's energy was insufficient. In the end, Tangy still hid the Lucky Charm. At this moment, she did not know what to do. Did she really have to give up on Tang Kuei? Why couldn't she be with Tang Kuei? If they were together, the family would have to pay with their lives. Chapter 1813. As for the adopted daughter, she didn't even fill in a few questions. The more Tangy thought about it, the more depressed she felt. Because of her self-esteem, Tangy had no choice but to enter the Tang group through the back door. Until Tangwa got her graduation certificate, Tangy didn't take out the Lucky Charm to make a wish again. She was very busy now. Usually, she wouldn't see Tangy for a month or two. Tang Kuei was even busier than Tangwa. The family Tang couple had been dedicated to charity. Although they were not that busy, they were often not at home. They had told Tangy that she could go to any company for an internship. As for the final result, it depended on her ability. If she wanted to open a store, they could give her a startup fund. Tangy looked at Tang while holding the gifts one by one. They were all high-tech products. She felt jealous, but at the same time, she knew that she couldn't compare with her. Nowadays, it was said that the family Tang couple had a pair of good children and completely excluded her, the adopted daughter. No matter which company she joined, she would inevitably be criticized and said that she was not as good as her biological daughter. So, she chose to take the startup fund. She was ready to start her own business. In fact, with Tang Yi's identity, the people in the company would only say that she was lucky and envious, even if they knew that she was adopted. They wouldn't compare her. Because Tang Kuei and Tang Was achievements were not something that Tang Yi could compare with. Compared with these useless things, it was better to curry favor with this family Tang girl. Even if she was adopted, she was still the family Tang girl. Everything was because of Tang Yi's self-esteem and inferiority complex. She felt that everyone looked down on her. Tang Yi chose to work in the beauty industry. She still had some foresight. She thought that it was easy to make money from women. With the startup fund, she hurriedly recruited people and opened a store. It seemed like it was the right thing to do. At this time, Tangwa, who was busy, received a call from someone she expected. "Are you getting married?" "Yes, I'm getting married." "Tangwa, we're so close, so I'd like to invite you to be my bridesmaid." He Yujiao's voice sounded from the other end of the line. "Tangwa, you must have time, right? This is the most important thing in my life. I hope you can come and witness it." Tangwa's lips curved slightly. "Of course, we are good friends. Even if we don't have time, we have to squeeze some time out." "Ah, that's great. I'll send you the address and time. It's best to come early so that you can prepare." "Okay, send it over." After hanging up the phone, Tangwa fell into deep thought. She had been waiting for this day for a long time. When Tao Yu heard Tangwa say that she was going to attend the wedding of a good friend of hers, he subconsciously said, "If you're going to be the bridesmaid, then I'll be the best man. When the time comes to grab the bouquet, with me around, the bouquet will definitely be yours." Yes, the bouquet could only be Xiaogua's. Xiaogua had gotten the bouquet. Perhaps the two of them would be the ones getting married next time. This idea was really perfect. Tangwa glanced at Tao Yu and said, "My relationship with He Yujiao is not as good as you think. Let's forget about being the best man. Since your relationship is not good, why don't you reject it?" Tao Yu asked curiously as he opened the car door for Tangwa. After Tangwa got into the car, he sat in the driver's seat and leaned over to fasten her seatbelt. Yes, now that they were boyfriend and girlfriend, he had the right to fasten her seatbelt for her. "Big brother Tao, you might not believe it, but I had a dream and I couldn't let go of this matter, so I had to go this time. I wanted to see if things would really be the same as in the dream." The system host was teasing her cutie again. Tao Yu asked, "What dream?" Chapter 1814. In the dream, when I went to attend the wedding, something bad would happen. Tao Yu frowned slightly when he heard this. He was about to start the car, but he stopped. "Since it's not a good thing, why do you still want to go?" "Xiaogua, tell me, what is the dream about? What happened?" Tao Yu quickly asked. He felt that Tangua was so serious that it didn't seem like a dream. Whether it was a dream or not, It wasn't a good thing. He couldn't let her go alone so easily. But seeing that she was determined to go, Tao Yu felt a little helpless. She had to find out what she had dreamed of and why she had to go. If she didn't want him to follow her, then he would follow her secretly. Big brother Tao, are you planning to follow me secretly if I don't let you go? Tanghua asked with a smile. Tao Yu, who had been seen through, wasn't embarrassed at all. He even nodded seriously. If you say that, then I'm even more worried. Xiaogua, if you don't want me to go, then I'll follow you secretly even if you're angry with me this time. I'm very satisfied with Big Brother Tao's attitude. Tanghua's lips curved slightly. If I was afraid that you would follow me, I wouldn't have told you about this. I would have found an excuse, and you wouldn't have a reason to follow me. If I told you about this, then I definitely wouldn't mind if you followed me secretly. Tao Yu finally understood. He could follow her, but he couldn't follow her openly. Did this mean that he could pretend not to know her and follow her secretly? So, what was she going to do? Xiaogua, you haven't told me what happened in the dream. Tanghua looked at the tall buildings in the distance and the pedestrians on the street. Her voice was flat as she said, that dream is a tragedy. If it's fake, then so be it. If it's real, I can avoid my own tragedy if I don't go, but I can't avoid the tragedy of the other two people. So, I have to go. I know. Then I'll follow you secretly, okay? Tao Yu said. He didn't ask what would happen in the dream. If he followed her, he would know what would happen in the future sooner or later. Of course. When did I say that you can't follow me? Then, shall we go home? Let's go back. Before Tao Yu started the car, he glanced sideways at Tanghua and said, Xiaogua, I wonder when I'll be able to drive you back to the Tao family instead of family Tang. Tanghua gently leaned against the back of the car seat and looked up. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and her voice suddenly became sweet. That will depend on Brother Tao's hard work. If you work a little harder, you can directly drive me back to your house. Xiaogua, I've been working hard all this time. I've never slacked off from the beginning, and I don't dare to slack off. Tao Yu asked seriously, can you tell me where the end is? Looking at the serious Tao Yu, Tanghua wanted to tease him. There's no end to it. System ha 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 ha. Was Tao Yu serious? Chapter 1815. When Tao Yu heard Tanghua say that there was no end to it, his heart turned cold. He thought that he would never be able to take her back to the Tao family in this lifetime. At that time, he did feel a little down, but it was not enough for him to give up on staying by her side. At that time, he had already thought it through. Even if he could not take her back to the Tao family, he would shamelessly stay in the family Tang. Being a live-in son-in-law of the family Tang was not bad. After he thought of this, he did not expect her to look at him with smiling eyes. He could see the love she had for him in those clear eyes. Faced with such a gaze, his heart could not help but beat faster. When he heard her say that she could wait for him, his heart almost jumped out of his chest. Then this sentence, there was no end to it, but she could wait for him. Could he understand that there was no end in front of them, but she could wait for him and walk towards an endless place together? Could he understand that there was no end to their love, and if she walked fast, she would definitely wait for him, and he would never overtake her footsteps and would only chase after her? Xiaogua, can you wait for me now? I want to take you home immediately. Tanghua glanced at him. Big brother Tao, you're pushing your luck. Then forget it. Tao Yu was resentful. There was an inexplicable chill in his heart that forced him to be careful. Tanghua giggled. If you can cook, I can also go to your house to eat. My parents and brothers are not at home. They're very busy, so it's fine if we don't go back. I can cook. I'm very good at cooking. Tao Yu hurriedly said. There's no man in the Tao family who can't cook. Even if he did not know how to cook, after meeting her, he wanted to learn everything. Only a perfect man who could cook, do housework, and earn money was worthy of her. 111 reported. Host, while you're overseas on an exchange, that guy called Tao Yu has already taken your precious fake sister back to the Tao family. 111 had been instructed by Tang Kuei to monitor the situation between Tao Yu and Tanghua. Of course, the system had been instructed by Tanghua to deliberately show this to him. He was much more advanced than 111. Without the host's permission, the other party could not see it. Tang Kui rubbed his forehead. What are they doing? Tao Yu made a table full of delicious food. Your baby fake sister ate happily. She kept saying, Big brother Tao, you're amazing. The food you make is so delicious. It's even better than the food made by top chefs. Also, Big brother Tao, the way you cook is really handsome. Host, this fake sister of yours is really not stingy with her praises. She praised that Tao Yu so much that he's on cloud 9. He's so busy that he's practically treating her like a queen. Tang Kui was also slightly taken aback. Is this how they usually interact? That's what I've observed occasionally. Even though Tao Yu appeared to be a domineering and cold CEO on the outside, no matter what others said, he wouldn't listen to them. Otherwise, he would be a smiling tiger. But in front of your fake sister, host, heavens, she is simply a person without principles or integrity, commonly known as shameless. After Tang Kui heard 111 say a lot, his initial dislike for Tao Yu disappeared and turned into admiration. Don't bother about him in the future. He saw Tao Yu's sincerity. This person was a little annoying, but what could he do if his sister was satisfied? If he wanted to chat with more like-minded people, he would be able to quickly change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, chat about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1816. Tang Kui thought for a moment and thought that 111 was right. In this small world, there was really no one who was more worthy of his sister than Tao Yu. The main thing was that this person was really good to his sister. Whether it was Qin Xian and Zhao Wan, or their family Tang, Tao Yu was a good person. Moreover, he was the person his sister liked. There was no reason for him to be the bad guy. Guogua was not the original Guogua, but a veteran transmigrator in a layer of skin. To be able to move her showed that Tao Yu was very powerful. All these years, he had never seen her suffer a loss. 111 asked, Host, aren't you afraid that he will take your sister away? Guogua has me in his heart. We can get along peacefully. In the future, he will have to call me brother-in-law. So, was his host compromising and not struggling anymore? A few days later, Tanguo went to a very remote county alone. Her purpose was to attend He Yujiao's wedding. As soon as she stepped out of the station, she saw He Yujiao, who had been waiting for her for a long time, and her marriage partner, Fan Chao. He was a slightly plump man with flat facial features. The moment Fan Chao saw Tanguo, his eyes lit up. Tanguo pretended not to see him and greeted He Yujiao. Fan Chao drove a small car. The car was not expensive. It was just a car that cost about 100,000 yuan. From his attitude, Tanguo could guess that He Yujiao did not tell him that she was the daughter of a rich family. Because Fan Chao's attitude was a little arrogant, whether it was the way he opened the car door or his high-spirited look. In front of He Yujiao, he seemed to be a little macho. He Yujiao stood beside him like a little woman. On the way, He Yujiao and Tanguo sat in the back row and told her that two of her good friends would also be her bridesmaids. One of the two girls was He Yujiao's college classmate, and the other was a good friend she met after working. One was called Wen Qingming, and the other was called Ning Zhishan. When they arrived at He Yujiao's house, Tanguo saw the two of them. They were both very beautiful, and both of them came from big cities. Judging from their clothes, they should be well off. He might not be rich, but at least he wouldn't have to worry about food and clothing. The women quickly got along well with each other. He Yujiao would chat and laugh with them from time to time. In short, in the eyes of outsiders, their relationship was really good. Isn't the wedding held in the county? Ning Zhishan was the first to voice her doubts when she heard that the wedding would not be held in the county. Why not hold it in the county? It should be more convenient here. He Yujiao replied, My future parents-in-law are more traditional people. When young people get married, they have to go back to their hometown. There were more people in his hometown. The wedding was in the Chinese style, and there were all kinds of local etiquette. If I don't go back and do it, I won't be able to explain myself. Don't worry. Even though it's a little far away, a Chao's family has chartered a car, and the road was just repaired a few months ago. It's absolutely flat, and it'll only take a few hours to go back and forth. It's very convenient. When the wedding is held, It will be very convenient to send you back to the county to live. Hearing He Yujiao's explanation, they were no longer confused. Other than Tanghua, who knew He Yujiao's thoughts, the other two really treated He Yujiao as a good friend. What they didn't know was that after peeling off the layer of beautiful skin on He Yujiao's face, she was a stinky lemon. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, quickly change into a female supporting character and calm down. Look, talk about life, and find a confidant. Chapter 1817. Soon, it was the day of the wedding. The bride, He Yujiao, and her bridesmaids were already dressed. The wedding was a long journey that took about 3 hours. The car drove from the county to the hometown of the groom, Fanchao. Fanchao's hometown was in a remote village. Because the roads were well repaired and there was a long line of cars, they did not feel bumpy sitting in the car. The bridesmaids who grew up in a big city chatted and laughed along the way. They did not feel uncomfortable at all. However, after sitting in the car for a long time, they inevitably felt a little sleepy. Tanghua did not speak much during the whole journey. She was not here to be a bridesmaid. She was here to cause trouble. Many people had never been to some barren places in their lives and had never seen what uncivilized animals were like. In this experience, there were many animals in human skin. After more than 3 hours, they finally arrived at the remote village. The village was very big and there were many people here. There were men and women, old and young. When the bridesmaids got out of the car with the bride, they could feel countless eyes sizing them up. Tanghua looked up and saw that there were half men and half women in the village. The men looked at the bridesmaids with unfriendly eyes. On the contrary, they did not hide it at all. As for the men with women beside them, they were pulled back by the ears by the women standing beside them. They did not dare to look at them openly, but secretly glanced at them. Some of the bachelors were different. They looked at Tanghua and the bridesmaids with no intention of restraining their gazes. They were all smiling. Today was He Yujiao's wedding day. When Qingming and Ning Zhishan thought that these people were very enthusiastic and did not notice that these people were looking at them differently. Suddenly, Tanghua felt that something was wrong. What was wrong? She glanced at the crowd and finally realized what was wrong. A team of photographers was also hired for this wedding. The team of photographers she saw was not the original ones, but a familiar face. Who else could it be but Tao Yu? As for the two assistants standing next to the main photographer, they weren't the original assistants either. Instead, they were two tall and strong young men. Looking at their footsteps and walking posture, Tanghua instantly recognized that these two young men should be very skilled. System host, your big cutie is really a changeable eagle. This time, he's a photographer. This guy knew how to think of a way. He was simply all-pervasive. Tanghua's changeable eagle? Puff. It really did look like it. When Tao Yu saw that Tanghua had seen him, he hurriedly gave her a look, and she understood the meaning behind it. No matter what happened, he was ready and would never let her be wronged. With him around, he would definitely be able to protect her. With such a sincere confession, Tanghua naturally accepted it. Tao Yu left the recording to his two assistants. On the other hand, he was holding a camera and focusing on a certain beautiful bridesmaid, and only the bridesmaid. If not for the fact that there was no one behind him, he would have been reprimanded long ago. You were invited to take photos of the bride and groom, but you only took photos of the bridesmaids. What is the meaning of this? The wedding went on in a lively manner. Just as Yujiao said, there were more complicated customs to hold a wedding in this village. The main purpose of messing with the bride and groom first was to let the two of them inadvertently do some intimate actions to amuse everyone. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, quickly change into a female supporting character and calm down. Look, talk about life, and find a confidant. Chapter 1818. Because they were the bride and groom, they wouldn't go overboard. After all, today was their big day, but they wouldn't be satisfied if they made a scene so easily. They couldn't be too harsh on the bride and groom, or it would affect the relationship between the couple. Therefore, they had a custom here to mess with the bridesmaids. It was equivalent to using the bridesmaids to protect the bride. Originally, The bridesmaids were all in the room. She didn't know when, but the bride and groom had been taken out. In the narrow room, only Tanghua and the other two bridesmaids were left. They were surrounded by some smiling men with ambiguous looks in their eyes. Some even had other intentions. Other than Tanghua, when Qingming and Ningjishan were stunned for a moment. They didn't know what this meant at all. When Qingming asked politely, "Is the wedding disturbance over?" "Where's Yujiao?" Ningjishan asked. Subconsciously, she told them to leave the room immediately. Although they didn't know why, they decided to push these people away and find Yujiao based on their instincts. They felt uneasy being surrounded by so many sweaty and smelly men. The bride and groom are going to do something, of course. "We've already messed with the bride and groom. Now it's time to mess with the bridesmaids," a man said. One of the men said, "We're all adults, and we're just having fun. Relax, we won't do anything to you. Yeah, we won't go overboard, but you have to cooperate. You're all here to be bridesmaids, so you should know our custom here, right? We like to mess with the bridesmaids here." Most of the bridesmaids know. At this moment, Tanghua's voice sounded. "Know what? We're all from the city, not from your village. We're bridesmaids for Yujiao because we have a good relationship with her. As for what you're doing here, it has nothing to do with us. Little girl, no matter where you're from, the three of you are bridesmaids now. Since you're in our village, you have to abide by our village's rules. You're being messed around for the bride. When it's over, it'll be fine." Tanghua smiled and said, "What kind of trouble is this? What else can it be? Isn't it just some games that adults like? We won't really do anything to you. It's just a feint." When Qingming and Ning Jishin's faces turned pale. Indeed, they were all adults. It was impossible for them not to understand these words. Earlier, they had already felt that something was amiss. It turned out that their feelings were not wrong. Looking at these wolf-like gazes, tears welled up in their eyes. Ning Jishin said, "I don't want to make a scene. If you dare do anything to me, I'll sue you." "Miss, we didn't do anything to you. Why are you suing us? We won't do anything. Even if we take you to the hospital for an examination, they won't be able to find anything." Hearing these fearless words, Ning Jishin's face turned red and there was only fear in her eyes. She had lived for more than 20 years, but this was the first time she had seen someone so shameless, despicable, and completely beast-like. "Brothers, let's start messing with the bridesmaids," someone shouted, and several men rushed towards the three of them like a swarm of bees. The one closest to these people was Wen Qingming. She was instantly grabbed by two men and could not struggle at all. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, chat about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 18-19. Under her horrified gaze, the other party actually tried to remove her gown. He even said, "Just play around. I won't really do anything to you. This is a custom here. You're an adult. Don't be a sore loser. Once it's over, no one will care." "No." When Qingming screamed, she saw a few perverted hands reaching towards her and about to touch her body. All of a sudden, a scream rang out, causing these perverted hands to stop. When Qingming looked around and realized that there were a few men who were about to remove their belts, they also paused in their actions. Their perverted expressions became a little confused. When he heard another miserable cry, he finally went to look for the source of this somewhat familiar miserable cry. Finally, they found the person. He was holding his stomach and curled up on the ground. His face was pale from the pain, and he kept rolling around. Beside this man stood a slender and beautiful bridesmaid. When they saw her, she had just retracted her pointy high heels. Tanghua smiled and said to the people in the room, "Continue playing around. Why did you stop? I've heard that there's a custom here to play around with bridesmaids. It sounds fun. Let's play around then. You guys can play around. I can play around too. It doesn't make sense that only you guys are allowed to play around and I'm not allowed to play around, right? We're adults. It's okay to play around. Once we play around, it'll be over." As they said this, they saw that Tanghua was actually untying something that looked like an accessory on her wrist. After untying it, they realized that it was a small leather whip. The door is locked. Today is He Yu Jiao's wedding. We should be lively, don't you think? Then, they looked at the door. They realized that the door had been locked. There were 3 men standing at the door. Ning Zhishan and Wen Qingming, who were in a daze and had tear stains, were brought to the door by Tao Yu's 2 assistants. Tao Yu looked at Tang Gua and glanced at her feet. He saw clearly just now that his girlfriend had kicked that man to the ground, making him lose the ability to struggle. It was already a custom in the village to have bridesmaids. Those who came to cause trouble were mostly single men. Sometimes, when things got a little out of hand, they would even lock the door. As for the rest of the people, the bride and groom, as well as the guests from the village, they went out to eat. Even if there were people who didn't like it, they wouldn't meddle in other people's business. For the sake of their future reputation, the bridesmaids who had suffered losses would not tell anyone what had happened inside. Just like what these animals had said, they would do anything except for the last step. Even if they called the police and sent them to the hospital for a checkup, what could they do to them? Even if it was just on the surface, they would still be happy for a long time. Another thing was that these bridesmaids didn't dare to say anything. If these people made a scene, they would take some embarrassing photos of them. Any normal woman wouldn't be able to accept such photos being posted on a place where everyone knew about it. If their family, friends, or even their future lover were to see this, the ending would definitely not be good. Therefore, most people would choose to swallow their anger. After the door was closed, the people outside didn't care at all. Yu Jiao looked at the door in the distance and heard the noise inside. Her lips curled up into a smile, and she quickly toasted her family and friends. She wasn't from this village. No matter what was happening inside, it had nothing to do with her. How would she know that this village was causing trouble for bridesmaids? What she didn't know was that she had never lived here. She wanted to talk to more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1820. Yu Jiao, dressed in her bridal gown, toasted with her relatives and friends with the groom, Fan Xiao. Thinking about what had happened in that room, the smile on the corner of her mouth could not be contained. So what if she had good grades? So what if she had a good family background? It was normal for beautiful people to be taken advantage of. She could only blame herself for being so beautiful. She had appeared in front of these men who had never seen a beautiful woman before. She could not blame them for having any thoughts. She was not worried that something would happen. According to her sources, she knew that the bridesmaids in the village would not be caught no matter how overboard they were. In fact, in such a remote place, no matter how overboard they were, the bridesmaids who had been taken advantage of would not dare to make a fuss. If they had to blame someone, they could only blame themselves for being too beautiful and attractive. If they were uglier, so many men would not even look at them. After so many years, she had had enough. She had been inferior to Tang Gua since she was young. She was the biological daughter of her parents. Unfortunately, her parents could not even be compared to her adoptive parents. She had to go to school, take care of her younger brother, and go home every day to do the housework. Seeing how Tang Gua had parents to send her to and from school, she was envious. Seeing how Tang Gua had a beautiful dress to wear, she could only pinch the corner of the dress that she had worn for so many years that it was white and wrinkled. Her childhood environment taught her that even if she was jealous, she should not express it. Instead of being jealous, it was better to get close to her quietly. Being friends with such a lucky girl would always give her some benefits. Yes, she got some benefits. On her birthday, Tang Gua would give her some small gifts, even beautiful dresses. Perhaps she had seen through her situation. She would even give her some clothes that she had worn once or twice or bought back but did not wear at all. Did she think that she would be grateful for this? If she had not deliberately tried to get close to her, would she have given her these things? If she had not hinted, would she have understood her situation? When she came home wearing a beautiful dress, she did not expect to be severely beaten by her mother. She said that such an expensive dress could not have been given to her by a classmate and that she had given her so many. She thought that she was dirty or had learned bad things. That's right. How could Tanguo wear such a beautiful dress? Her adoptive parents treated her well. She lived a happy life, and her grades were good. When she found out that the other party was actually the daughter of a rich family, she was about to go crazy. The jealousy in her heart could no longer be concealed. She didn't want to get any charity from the other party by keeping in touch with them. The feeling of being given alms was really not a good feeling. When she was young, her parents didn't love her. She didn't have good clothes to wear and good food to eat. Whatever they had at home was given to her parents' precious son. There was nothing to be done about her age. Now that she had walked out of that place, she no longer needed to be restrained by her family. She wouldn't starve to death, so there was no need for her to curry favor with others and wait for charity. The feeling of losing one's self-esteem and belonging to someone else from head to toe was really too unbearable. Every time she wore Tangua's clothes, skirts, and shoes, she felt a sense of shame standing in the crowd. What she feared the most was that someone would come up to her and ask why she was wearing the same clothes as Tangua. She was even more afraid that someone who knew something would directly point out that it was a gift from Tangua. What she feared the most was that people who knew her would talk behind her back about how she had picked up Tangua's discarded things. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.